May I have your attention, please? Good evening.
You're listening to Straight Talk with Dean and Mark. We thank you for tuning in and hope you enjoy another exciting episode of our show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Straight Talk with Dean and Mark. It's 65 degrees up here in the great state of New Jersey. But as always, from NJ to NC, I'm in the studio with my right-hand man, Mark Lee. So, Mark, tell me what's good in your neck of the woods, my brother.
Well, the weather has been pretty nice here as well. There was a little bit of a drizzle earlier today, but other than that, the weather was very lovely, and I was definitely enjoying the fine weather that we were having, and definitely enjoying all of that great weather. So I was even got a chance to get out for a walk and everything earlier. So that's what some of the things that were going on here were. And then, I just found out that Hamilton, hopefully this thing will be over. This whole coronavirus thing will be over in the very near future, and if that's the case, Hamilton will be making a return trip back to this area in December of this year. So we got a long way. It did really well the last time it was here, but we're hoping that it's going to make a return trip back to this area in December to the DPAC. I was just looking at some of the news, and that's one of the announcements that they had was that Hamilton, which definitely did quite well when it came here last time, will be making a return trip in December. And, with all the things going on in our world with politics and things of that nature, even though it was set back in the days of Hamilton and Burr, I think that some of the things that they were dealing with even back then are things that we deal with now with some of our politicians. So a lot of folks think that that is a very apropos, even to this day and time, kind of play and everything. So I imagine that folks, if they get a chance to see it in December, will definitely find it very enjoyable. And then, as everybody else is doing these days and times, we're definitely on stay-at-home orders, so have not had to do that much work. Did have a couple of work where I had to go to the Hayti. We had some people doing some repair work, so somebody from the office had to be in the house. And since I'm the one that's probably the closest, that was me. And went over there and opened the doors for them and just kind of like stayed out of their way while they did their construction work and things of that nature. But did get a chance to get out in that sense, and also went out for a couple of walks. And like a lot of folks, you're trying to keep up with family and things of that nature. So did a Zoom call last week with my brother, my pops, my two nephews, and significant people in their lives as well. As a matter of fact, I think I did the count, and we had like 17 people on that Zoom call from 8 different locations. So everybody was in there, seeing that everybody was in good shape and that everybody was definitely, trying to stay as safe and as healthy as possible. So we did that was last week and everything. So that's some of the things that have been going on here. Like I said, I did go, there's a lake not that far from the apartment. It's on the Deuce campus, and went around, walked around that, saw the couple of the, I guess those were geese and everything that were around there, and some of the other birds. I think I even stumbled across a blue jay and everything. So got a chance to, get at least a little bit of exercise. You don't want to just stay in the house and not get some fresh air, even though, we're trying to stay safe and sound and things of that nature. But you definitely, and people recommend this, they want you to get out there and be healthy as possible. I know some people are even looking at doing exercise programs, and some of them are finding things that they have found online. And I need to get better with the exercise regimen of my own, because that's not something I've been really good at over the last several years. So I need to get back on an exercise regimen. Had a call with one of my Carolina theater people earlier today, and they had actually bought a bicycle. I think they said they got it from Walmart, and they had put it together themselves. They were wanting to get a little bit more tightened up and things of that nature, so they were not feeling all that confident about taking the bicycle out for a road test yet, feeling that they want to make sure that bicycle is not going to fall apart on them and everything. And I can understand that, because I don't have the best mechanical hands either, so I can understand that. But they were suggesting that that's something that I might want to look into, is getting the bicycle and everything. So that's something that I'll check into as well, but definitely trying to keep some exercise going. And of course, like everybody, when you got these kind of orders in to be in the house, you find yourself watching a whole lot of movies and TVs, some that I've seen that I'm sitting there going like, okay, that was all right. I just finished watching a Jackie Chan movie where he's, rescuing like the some magical, mystical thing in order to get back to his time in the modern days, and I don't even remember what the name of that movie was. And then I also saw quite a bit of the mini-series dealing with Madam C.J. Walker. I know some people have found that to have some flaws in it and things of that nature. We had Layla Bundles, the relative, and definitely one of the people involved with that production, on our podcast sometime back. We might have to get her back to see what she thought of the production and whether she thought it was a good rendition. I mean, there are some things that I'm not sure how accurate they were. Definitely some things about hinted at least that was the impression I got, that there was a hinted at lesbian relationship. I don't know how much factual that was, and there was definitely a rival that was in the movie. And if you read up on that particular rival, it seems like some of the things that they did with the rival might have been some Hollywood action in terms of the nature of the rival. There is no doubt that Madam C.J. Walker did have a rival, but they changed their name, and even some of the storyline may have been different as well. But a lot of the things were very much point on. They talked about Booker T. Washington, W.E.B. Du Bois, and there were some other historical references as well, even a reference to Mr. Rockefeller and some other famous folks that she was associated with during her time and everything. So had a chance to check that out. I definitely would recommend that other people see it as well. Like I said, these kind of historical things, they may take a little liberties, but you do get to learn at least a little bit about the person. And even if they take liberties, it might encourage you to go out and read a book about this particular person so you can find out what's true and what's not true. And the only way you can do that is to go out and do your own research and things of that nature. So I saw that, and then I saw a movie that had Eva in the title. I think it was called Something About Eva, that was put out sometime way back and everything. So like I said, I've watched some old movies. I've watched some more current movies. I also saw Reasonable Doubt, which was a good movie. So there have been some movies that I have caught, and definitely some, most of them have been reruns. I've been watching a lot of Bounce TV and things of that nature, but definitely I do have Netflix, so I did see the Madam C.J. Walker one, and I've got a couple of other ones that are on my list that I want to check out in the near future and everything. So that's some of the things that I'll be doing. I know that they got you going into the office on occasional days and everything, but other than going into the office, what else have you been up to?
Laying back, watching a lot of Netflix. I saw the thing on Madam C.J. Walker. I liked it. My thing is, we find fault in everything. We get mad because they don't do stories about our people. Then they do stories about our people, and everybody's like, well, why didn't they talk more about this person? Well, if it's a story about you, I am a secondary character. If I play a part in your story, then yes. And to be honest, nobody was there to dispute or affirm it. Listen, just look at it, research the rest of it on your own so you have that knowledge for yourself. You know what I'm saying? Because it's still a lot of people that believe that Madam C.J. Walker and Maggie Walker are the same person. So before you get in your feelings about this wasn't right and that wasn't right, how about take something better from the story than, oh, it's not right. So at some point, maybe during this time of self-reflection and self-quarantine and all of that good stuff, maybe you'll get some self-common sense in the middle of it, and not be so anti-everything. They said it's about the peak of the coronavirus pandemic. It's probably about 10 days away. So they're looking for about 3,000 people to perish in one day, according to scientific data. However, I believe in the creator of all things to include such science. And I believe that, while some have gone on, this will soon pass. And like Dr. Anthony Fauci said, it's likely that the virus will become seasonal. So they're trying to figure out what all of this stuff is, what it means, what it's going to do. But at the same time, we have to, take care of ourselves and start to do the things that we should have been doing all along. And I think that's this time of it's almost like the earth needs to breathe. So this came about, keep the majority of the folks from killing it more so that they can kind of replenish itself. And unfortunately, in that replenishment, some of us will no longer be here. But it goes back to what, and in many religions it says you don't know the day, the time, the hour, nor way that you're going to leave this earth. So if you are a believer in your respective faith, nothing should make you turn away from that religion. It should make you gravitate more to it, I guess. You know, just my thought, man.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And actually, North Carolina got some good news in that regard. There's scientists that are always looking up things and trying to figure out what's going to happen. And there are scientists from all over the country that are doing the research. We have just surpassed 3,000, and that doubled in 6 days. But apparently some of the predictors are saying that folks are doing what they're supposed to be doing here in the Carolinas. They are actually staying at home. They're actually doing things of that nature. So that being said, they are saying that social distancing, at least here in the Carolinas, particularly North Carolina, that may be working. It says that the coronavirus outbreak in North Carolina will likely peak early next week with far fewer deaths than originally feared, according to researchers at the University of Washington. Researchers at the School's Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation now think that about 500 people will die from the COVID-19 in North Carolina, down from the more than 2,400 they predicted just a week and a half ago. As of Monday morning, 33 people had died of COVID-19 in the state, according to the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Resources. So definitely looks like folks are definitely following orders the way that they're supposed to be doing, at least here in North Carolina. So we're glad to see that folks are doing that, and we want them to continue doing that. So as long as the folks are following these rules, I did have a conversation with a fellow board member, and they were saying that they might not be going to any more takeout restaurants because a couple of the restaurants that they went to, the people were not wearing masks and they were not doing some of the other things. So they were basically saying that they think that they can do better in terms of a health standpoint, eating and preparing their own food and things of that nature. I mean, definitely people are still going out and eating at some of the fast food restaurants, still calling on some of the order places like Grubhub and DoorDash and things of that nature. They are also saying that the researchers that I was referring to earlier, that they at one time were thinking that the state would have a shortage of the type of beds that they're going to need, and it looks like that shortage is also now being downplayed. So it does look like there will be enough hospital beds for the amount of victims that will be predicted to be here in the next week or two. So like I said, I am glad to see that people are, for the most part, seeming to follow orders and things of that nature. I'm hoping that they're doing that around the country because that's what they say will flatten the curve, as the term likes to go. So definitely we're hoping that folks will continue to heed the advice that they are being given and doing the things that they're supposed to be doing in these days and times. And I'm also glad to say that a lot of organizations, I just saw that the Durham Arts Council is putting together a fund to help some of our artists that are definitely running across troubled times financially because of what's going on. So they have announced a fund that people can apply for. They go to the Durham Arts Council website, that they will see that there's a fund both for arts organizations as well as individual artists. So that is just one thing that is going on. I believe that North Star Church of the Arts also has a fund, and some of our other cities and counties have funds as well. So definitely glad to see that people are doing what they are supposed to be doing in that regard. I see we've got somebody at the doorbell, and that's great. Hopefully we're going to have at least one or two calls during the course of the evening as we are remembering people. And I know one of them did die from COVID-19. That was revealed. The other one I'm not as sure about. And then there's a third one that I believe was even further back and everything. But as we're thinking about, like we did last week, people that deserve our honoring and our salute, I definitely want to give out a shout out to Ellis Marcellus, who is a great jazz artist, definitely the father of Brantford, Winton, Jason, and I always forget the fourth one. It's a more not as easy a name to remember. I think it's Del Felio or something like that.